Namaste to everyone. Adab, Sat Sri Akal. Hello. This is a bit strange. I'm so used to having people in front of me and playing with the energy of whoever's in front of me and with me and around me. Um, I wanted to start this sort of conversation on Munch UK off sort of informally and also outside as well, connected to nature. So Munch UK is a platform for UK artists to be able to be connected to each other. There will be 30 artists through 30 days who will do roughly 25 to 30 minutes each, in which they will discuss various parts of their life that probably are not known outside or off stage. And I'm the first to start this, so no pressure. So I wanted to start in this environment outside because I think for me the most important thing as a child growing up was nature. I yearned for nature. I was born in Birmingham and brought up in Sparkbrook, and then later shifted to Leicester and went between Birmingham and Leicester. Those of you who know Sparkbrook, it's a horrible place. It's a place where I'm not really proud of, and people say don't forget where you come from. Well, I definitely didn't forget. You know, I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. It was one of my life's mission, because dreams and ambitions sort of, they get swallowed up by the atmosphere there. It's a very hard life, and I dreamt of having a place with a great garden, with the sense of nature, with art, that I could live in. I wanted to create a world that was in my mind. So I'm going to take you towards through the garden. This was landscaped by Eileen, my next door neighbor, and I bought the house not too long ago for my father. And because I have many brothers and sisters, so I was the only child for 10 years, and then my sister was born after 10 years. Then after 20 years there was another sister and another sister and another brother. Now I have 7 brothers and sisters, so the whole football team is going to be coming to live next door to me, because I feel I want to be a part of their life, and I want to be able to be connected to them, especially some of my siblings who also dance as well. So I started dancing officially dancing at a very young age. At the age of 8, I think 8, I started learning from Nilima Didi, which is my Kathak guru. And then later on I learned from Chitralekha Bola, my Bharatanatyam guru, and then I went to Mumbai and I learned from Asha Joglekar ji and Chaya Kanvate, also in Bharatanatyam and Kathak, and also Shamak Davar as well. What was really evident for me though, as a 7-year-old, when my parents took me to India, I stayed in India for 9 months. So this was on a farm, and no electricity, no running water. We had to go to the wells to get water out. We used to take the cows, herd all the cows and all the buffaloes, and that really became a huge influential part of my life, because I don't know, I felt like nature connected me more to my mythology, towards the land where the mythology comes from. That's why I somehow always try and create that mythology and that land, in keeping animals, in keeping in sync with nature. So I want to show you some of my extended family. This is my fantails, and these, as you can see, they all live here and they fly around the garden, and they're trained so they come back. And what I love about these animals is that they're free to go and they're free to come back. And I think choice is an important thing for any human being, for any artist. And if I wasn't given the choice to dance by my family, if I wasn't allowed the choice, then I suppose life would be very, very different for me. But to be honest with you, I think I was quite a rebel growing up, and maybe I would have found a way to dance regardless of them saying yes or no. But I think choice was an important thing, and I think I made the choice to dance from a young age. I knew from the beginning that I was going to be a dancer. So I'll show you my studio, and we'll start our conversation in more depth. So this is my studio. This is where we practice, and I just want to say thank you to Subhash Viman Gorania, who's also doing the video as well. So this is what we call our artist chore. We all live in the same house, and we do lots of crazy things, and dance is just part of the conversation. So I trained for years and years and years with my gurus. Then I did my Rangmanch Pravesh, and I had a complete dichotomy. I had a complete. It's almost like I was living two lives. I think my personal life was always traumatic, I think, in many ways. And I think the reason why I showed you nature and these animals is I think I was seeking a lot of solace and comfort with animals, with nature, which I couldn't find in humankind and in mankind. I think I just wrote a little line saying if I start a biography, it should be called Ab Normal Hua. Matlab, in Hindi we say abnormal, like now he's become normal, or in English it could be called abnormal, because I feel like my life was very unusual. I grew up with my grandmother, and I was sort of shifting between my parents and my grandmother. So I moved and was thrown from pillar to post, and I moved 26 houses. And when I got this house, I felt like this was a place I wanted to stay. And I think I used to use, I know I had used art to be able to express what I felt. And that was a huge, huge part of my life. I mean, everything was dance for me. Picking up a glass, I couldn't just pick up a glass. You know, I had to choreograph how I picked the glass up. You know, how I drank water, how I opened the door, how the door handle would sort of open. I would tell my mom, don't open the door like that, you know, open it like this. So there was always this sense of dance which lived with me in my every move. And I think even through my unpredictable life and my very unusual childhood, and being, you know, my parents not caring about me going to school and being on a farm for 9 months to a year without them, I remember what was really amazing was taking these buffaloes out, herding them, or, you know, looking after these animals, or wandering in the forest or in a dry riverbed. I was able to, when I came here and I started to learn dance formally, when Nilima Didi used to say, I remember in Kathak, you know, you pick up a pot. She goes, pick up a pot, and all the other children would imitate. But for me, I knew what it felt like to pick a pot up, what the weight of the pot was, how the women in my family used to pick it up, and how I used to try and help them, or what it meant to herd all the cows, or how it felt, you know, in that village environment, to be teasing each other, how the boys would tease the girls and the girls would tease the boys, or, you know, this very specific culture which belongs to the village, which also was so embedded in my dance form, in my Kathak form, in my Bharatanatyam. So I felt like these experiences of life through nature, through the environment, through this village, became a huge part of my life. And I think what's nice right now, I know, you know, there's a lot of terrible things happening at the moment with COVID and stuff, but I think this time that I have now has given me the chance to be able to reflect and to go back to that sense of appreciating the environment, because it's through this environment, through the leaves, through the choreography that naturally happens, that I'm able to take inspiration. And it's a place where I can sort of find peace within myself. So anyway, long story short, my career took off when Akram Khan became my mentor, and we had created a work called Rising, which was with 3 choreographers, Akram Khan, Sidi Larbi and Russell Malafant. And working with them, I was young, I was inexperienced in contemporary dance, so this was my first time I was learning about contemporary dance, and trying to find a balance between my experience through life and Kathak, and how do I apply that into contemporary. It almost felt like in the beginning I couldn't find any ground. It felt like 2 different languages which had no relationship at all. Slowly through their process, which was really painstaking, you know, being able to, you know, go from Kathak and Bharatanatyam, which is such a precise disciplined form, and to be able to do something simple in the contemporary world, which is like rolling the floor, was really difficult for me. There was so many times I cried. Life was painful. Every day I was full of bruises, black, blue, green. I remember when I was rehearsing with Akram for his solo that he was making on me, by the end of the second day I couldn't lift my neck. It was that painful for me. Why I was doing all of this, sometimes I ask myself. It wasn't because I wanted to reach something or somewhere. I think destiny took me where I had to go. I knew, like a salmon which is making its way from the sea back up to its birthing ground. You know, I was going against the current and trying to find the essence of where I belong and where I'm supposed to go. But I think what was a massive pushing factor for me was, I think Akram believed in me more than I believed in myself, and because he had so much belief in me, I had to make it into the best success that I possibly could. So at the time we didn't know if it was going to be a success or a failure, and so we performed Rising. We got a few negative reviews, and then it started to pick up momentum, and then it just carried on. And now I have a joke saying that I'll probably retire doing Rising, you know, with a walking stick in my hand. But along the way, there have been many people who've helped me out on the path. You know, Meera Kaushik ji, who is I think one of the first people to present me outside of my own institution in a classical manner when I did AAKASH in the Royal Opera House. And that's where Akram Bhaiya first saw me. So I feel like this little string this stream has taken me somewhere, and I wasn't exactly aware where it was going, but now I feel things are becoming more clear. Even then, if I think back to that time when I was doing AAKASH, I remember specifically, and I think this platform in Munch UK is also to be able to know the artists beyond what you read about them on stage, you know, in an article or a critical review. So I remember when I was doing this AAKASH, this piece choreographed by Kumi Ben, and Academy had hosted us as dancers. I had no money to be able to eat food, so all the dancers would go to get their lunch at lunchtime, and I would sit and practice. And they thought I was damn arrogant because I wouldn't go. And the truth was I had no money to be able to eat, so I survived. That was a 3-week period of one hula hoop packet and a banana a day, because that's what I could afford. But I'm conveying this to you because nothing came easy. Because often people turn around and say, oh, well, you're lucky because you have, you know, I don't know, you have a producer, or you have so-and-so, or you had so X, Y, and Z. But in the process, I've also lost so much. You know, I've lost massive amounts. You know, being in this place, whatever I'm doing right now, you have to be ready to sacrifice everything. I've lost my family in many ways, my children, my everything. There's so many things, but in return also I've been given a lot of things as well. And sometimes I ask myself, why do I do this? Well, I think there's a bigger cause. I don't know how to do anything else other than what I do. So through a lot of difficulties and, you know, a lot of difficulties, life is where it is right now. That doesn't mean it's also easy for me. Recently we premiered a piece called Samsara, and it just happened before the festival shut down. And the productions are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the responsibilities are getting bigger. And the team was 20 people in Australia on my side, which were putting this production together. So, you know, it doesn't seem to get easier. You don't seem to get more used to it. I haven't found a formula yet. I'm still looking for where I'm supposed to do. I have a lot of other interests, which I think is super important. I think we get so hell-bent on dance and life and dance that we ignore every other aspect of life. But I've learned now that it's really important to be able to have other creative outlets that become like streams that feed into this one big river. And I think at the end of the day, for me, whether I do dance or whether I start doing choreography or photography or decorating or gardening or whatever it is, it has a creative element in it. And I think for me, the most important part is to be able to be creative. And beyond the creative elements, and what makes it creative, what do I mean by creative? I mean, for me, creativity also means something that is spiritual. I think being, as a child, one of my first memories was sitting in a temple with my father, and my father lit a diya, and I asked him, what's this diya for? And he explained to me what the diya was for. And that was one of my first memories, praying in a temple. And even now, I feel like I'm hugely spiritual, and I feel that gives me many perspectives of life. Often when I see someone, I find it hard to be able to judge that person completely, because I find that I put myself in their position. Even if I get angry, whatever it may be, but I feel like I put myself in that person's character. That also comes across in my dance as well. When I'm dancing, when I'm being a particular character, I immerse myself fully in that character. But I feel like that happens through my spiritual connection. My spirituality, what can I say about it? Sometimes it drives me to a point where I don't know where I am, and sometimes it gives me a clear path of where I've got to go. But I feel like the jigsaw only reveals itself piece by piece by piece by piece. And as life moves on, there are many things I feel like I forget, but there are many things that I also feel like I learn as well. Here we are in this environment right now, where we're all locked into our houses, and we're sort of sitting here and contemplating about what we're going to do in life. But I'm using this to really maximize right now. So I'm writing poetry, we're making funny videos, me and Subhash, we're doing tons and tons of stuff. So today I also will try and share with you a piece, which for me, I think is one of my favorite pieces, Mohe Apne Hi Rang Mein Rang De Rangile. And it's a Sufi piece, and I feel this piece is important for me because I'm always constantly asking them, my guru and my gurus, to be able to color me in their colors. I feel like even if I get a drop of knowledge from them, my dance gurus, my spiritual gurus, I feel enriched, and I feel like that pushes me further. There's many a times I'm lost, and I feel like I'm the luckiest person on earth. All it takes is a phone, for me to pick up the phone and call Chitra Didi and say, Chitra Didi, I'm lost, or Didi, as in Nilima Didi, I'm lost, or Chai Auntie, or Shamak, or I feel like I'm guided in so many different ways. So this piece, Mohe Apne Hi Rang Mein Rang De, is also in one way from a student, a disciple to their gurus as well. It's also about, it's talking about nature for me as well. Absorb me in your environment, absorb me in your colors. Let me become one with the wind. Let me become one with the water. Let me feel each leaf moving. So I feel like this sense of life, and life is so short and so fragile, comes through in this piece for me. Even though the metaphor is about color, I think color can transform in so many different ways. And for me, color is knowledge, color is feeling, color is compassion, and so many more things. Also, I wanted to say, if there's any questions that anyone has, we can keep a few minutes at the end for those questions, and you can ask me whatever questions in the time frame that we have. Is there anything else you want to know about my life growing up? Is there any questions that you have about my dance practice? To be honest with you, it's really difficult sometimes to motivate yourself when you're doing a solo. It's really hard when you've done, a journey all the way around the world. There's some other drama going on in your personal life, but then when you get onto stage, the rule I think I've made for myself is, soon as my foot steps onto the stage, everything else about life, which may be a burden that I carry around on my shoulder, is gone. In that moment, my aim, my objective is to become one. What I mean by one is just a second in an hour or 2 hour show where you feel lost, connected, you feel like you are connected to everything, but you feel like nothing. And those moments actually really far and few. I think in my whole life, in the last 27 years, maybe there's been about seven of those moments. But I feel like those moments are what I live for through dance. And in living for these moments, I also use them as like milestones to be able to pave a way for change to happen. When I dance, sometimes it feels like, okay, am I dancing just for myself? There's a point in your life, you dance 300, 400, 500 shows, then you feel, what is the reason why you're dancing? Why are we dancing? But then sometimes it takes a lot of reflection for me to realize that the people who are watching, even if I manage to take them out of their mind, out of their busy mind, and keep them present in that moment just for 5 minutes, I feel like I've done something. If I am able to help someone just to be free from a problem or whatever they may be facing in their daily life, I feel like there's something which is done. So, I think we can share with you now a little bit of Mohe Apne Hi Rang Mein. So I've edited it into a very small piece, so it's just to give you a little drop really. And please, forgive me if you feel shortchanged that I'm not doing any massive composition in some complicated tal. But maybe next time, maybe Meera Kaushik ji will do another version of this, which is a bit longer. But yeah, let's begin.
More
that was my short demo to you guys. I'm sorry if it felt a bit chaotic, but it's a bit strange to try and interview yourself. Okay, so in that case, I'm gonna say thank you massively to Miraji, and I'm going to say, yeah, thank you to you all, and thank you to Subhash, and we'll leave you with a view of my Acer trees.